Okay, so tell me, what is your biggest weakness? That's a great question, and my greatest weakness is that I am a perfectionist. What would your ex-boss say is your biggest area of improvement? My ex-boss would say that I work too hard and therefore I make my teammates look bad. The question, what is your biggest weakness or something similar, is a potential minefield. If you highlight a weakness that undermines your candidacy for the role, then you lose. But if you say you have no weakness, then you're lying because everyone has something that they can get better at, and the interviewers know this, so you also lose. And if you try to disguise a weakness as a strength, usually it ends up being too obvious and most interviewers will detect that, and therefore you also lose. So, wow, it seems like you always lose when it comes to this question. So, what can you do? How in the world do you respond to a question like that without undermining yourself as a candidate? Better yet, how do you respond in a way that strengthens the interviewer's perception of you as the right candidate? Hi there, I'm your best friend at work and I'm here to share my advice, tips and support to help you thrive in your career. Welcome to my channel, and yes, it's possible to answer what is your biggest weakness in a way that helps rather than hinders your chances of a job offer, so let's get right into it. Number 1, focus on the skill that you're developing. Bring up an aspect of your skill set that you're maybe not as proficient at, but highlight how you're taking steps to close the knowledge gap. Of course, please don't highlight something that is a fundamental responsibility or core aspect of the role that you're applying for, because you're just gonna shoot yourself in the foot, metaphorically speaking. Say you started off as a junior data analyst and now you're applying to be a senior data analyst at another company. What do you say when asked, what is your greatest weakness? You definitely don't want to say anything that strongly relates to a core aspect of being a data analyst. For example, saying I'm not detail-oriented is probably not the best idea. Instead, what you could say is, because I love data and all the insights I can derive from analyzing it, I can identify key trends or performance indicators with a potential impact on the company's bottom line. However, the analysis can be somewhat complicated. What I need to work on is simplifying these complicated insights into something that is more digestible and more easily understood by someone who isn't trained in data. So what I've been doing is taking an online course in communication to improve myself. So this example shows that you're good at the technical aspect of your job, shows you have self-awareness that you could get better in a non-technical aspect, communication in this case, and shows that you are taking tangible steps to making improvements. Or if a core aspect of the new role you're interviewing for involves managing other people, don't just bluntly blurt out that you, for example, don't know how to manage team members when they have personal issues, even if that's true. Because all that does is it tells the interviewers, oops, you might not be the right person for the job. Instead, what you can say is one skill you're still developing as a team leader is empathy and care for those under you. That when the going gets tough, you need to purposefully set aside time to build up your team members' morale and ensure their mental well-being. Then share 1 or 2 examples of when you did exactly that. For example, one of your team members was facing a personal issue and how you sensed that during a one-to-one due to the person's tone and body language, how you counseled this team member, gave this person time off to recover, and how that ultimately benefited the person's performance because the person was grateful for your support and understanding and came back to work stronger and more driven than ever. This example avoids calling it a weakness directly and instead draws focus to a core leadership skill that you know you need to improve, so it shows self-awareness, and through the examples it shows that you're working hard to further develop this skill as well as the amount of progress you've made, which is important as the interviewers will appreciate that you've taken steps to address this gap. Number 2, focus on a lesson you learned. Continuing from the example of applying for a team leader role, you could focus on a lesson you learned early on in your capacity as a team lead. For example, one common mistake that new leaders typically make is not learning to delegate. You were promoted in the first place because you were a star individual performer, and you're so used to doing everything on your own and knocking everything out of the park that when you became a team lead, you thought that's what you need to continue doing, relying 100% on yourself. But as anyone who takes on the role of a team lead long enough, you'll soon learn that that's not true, because your team's overall performance will suffer if you try to do everything by yourself. So you realize that as a leader, you need to learn to trust your team members and delegate tasks to them. You realize that it's not about you anymore, it's about the team and how you can help them to perform at their best. So in this example that I just shared, make sure you highlight that this was a lesson you learned early on in your career and how you adapted and adjusted to the requirements of your new role, how you are now much better at delegating tasks to your teammates, and that while you are far from perfect at it, you are deeply aware of how important it is as a leader and how you are learning every day how to delegate the right task to the right person for maximum efficiency and optimal performance. Number 3, focus on what isn't within your control. Try to bring up an aspect that you don't really have direct influence over. For example, if it's a company that you're applying to in a different industry, then highlight that. This could be as simple as saying, well, I have the specific experience and skills for the role itself. I don't have much experience in this particular industry, so if offered the role, I will be making sure to do more research on the industry, speaking to more experienced colleagues to better understand firsthand their thoughts on the challenges and opportunities, and possibly engaging someone much more experienced as a mentor so that I can quickly get up to speed. This obviously only works if you're crossing over from a different industry. For example, if you're in HR in the public sector and you're applying for a similar HR role in the e-commerce industry, you could probably say what I just shared and get away with it. Besides, you ended off with an action plan that you would be taking. But what if you're applying for a role in the same industry, or if you're applying for a role with a direct competitor of your company? What could you possibly say then when asked, what is your biggest weakness? Again, try to look for the difference in the two companies, the one you're currently at and the one you want to be at, and highlight that. For example, if you're moving from a company that is predominantly Chinese to a company that is predominantly European, highlight that. You could say because you're used to working with Chinese colleagues and the 996 culture, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. 6 days a week, that you will need time to adjust to the European way of working. For example, if it's a French company, they are protective of their work-life balance, and if you send an email outside of official working hours, you could actually be reprimanded. And this actually happened to someone, it was in the news. So, say something like that you're used to sending emails after working hours, and now at the new company, you will have to be mindful to respect the new culture. The interviewers are not going to really hold this against you. You can't help what the culture is at your current company and how different it is from the culture at your new company. But as always, and you should be noticing a pattern by now, after sharing what you believe is your weakness, always gradually proceed to what you think you can do to close the gap and share steps you have already taken, as well as the progress you have made. Aim to always respond in this manner, and at the end of it, the interviewers are less likely to remember what your weakness even was, and more likely to remember that you're a self-aware individual, you know what you need to do to improve, that you're proactive about improving yourself, you already have an action plan, and that you've actually improved already. You've acted on your plan in a tangible, measurable way. So those were my tips on how you could answer this minefield of a question. If you have your own way to answer this question, or you agree or disagree with anything I've shared, feel free to comment below. I'd love to hear from you. Alright, that's it for this video. Hope you found it useful. If you did, give me a like and do subscribe, as it will help this channel to grow and will also let me know that what I'm doing here helps you. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one. Bye for now.